Well, welcome everybody. I understand that I have somebody on my right that's echoing exactly what I say, which is very interesting. We are now not only live on Zoom, but we are also live streaming on YouTube. The world is at our feet. Wonderful, isn't it? I do welcome you to the meeting of the Landlord Services Advisory Board. It's always nice to see tenants with us as well. So thank you all for being with us today. The Landlord Services Advisory Board is an executive working group, and it's a very special one. It's made up of some councillors and some tenants panel by election, not by being drummed into it by any means. And it's a very special thing, and I think it's great that we can we have this joint tenants approach. Now, I do have the privilege of chairing it today. My colleague Terry Daubney, he is leader of the Waverley Tenants Panel, and we jointly chair this. We take it in turns. So when you come next month, we'll change places. It'll be my turn to keep back the draft from Terry while he goes through it. I think that's great. It works for me. So what we normally do, so why wouldn't we do it again, is just because it's a bit like a party, isn't it? We just introduce ourselves as we go around so we know who and where it is. If you're on the tenants panel, let us know. If you're a tenant, let us know. If you're on the Landlord Services Advisory Board, either as a tenant or as a councillor, let us know. So I'm Paul Rivers. I'm chairing it today. I'm a councillor, and nice to see you. Terry.
I'm Terry Daubney. Thank you. I always forget that one. I'm Terry Daubney, and I'm the chair of the Tenants Panel, vice chair of this group.
Good morning, I'm Janet Crowe. I'm also a councillor, and that's it, I think.
To start with, good morning, everybody. I'm Annalisa Howson. I'm the Assistant Director for Housing. And I think what Councillor Rivers and Councillor Crowe have omitted to say is that they are co-portfolio holders for housing. So within all the members of the council members in Waverley, there is an executive, and within the executive, they have portfolio holders who are the people responsible for different areas. And so we're delighted to have Councillor Rivers and Councillor Crowe as co-portfolio holders for housing to work with us.
My name's David Williams. I'm a council tenant.
David Madams, Tenants Panel for Riverside Court.
Rob Stratford, Vice Chairman and Treasurer of the Tenants Panel, plus member of the Landlord Services Board and a member of Oxford Ridge Redevelopment Committee since 2012.
Good morning, I'm Rod Blackmore. I'm an advisory board member, a tenants panel member, chair of the customer experience group, and on the stakeholders panel.
Good morning, my name's Alan Morrison. A bit more modest, I'm just simply a councillor for Cranley West.
Good morning, I'm Jackie Keane and I'm a councillor for Shottermill and Critchmere in Hazelmere.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a tenant, a disabled tenant from Waverley, Ian Fletcher.
I'm Christine Chant and I'm a tenant.
I'm Julia Muir and I'm a tenant, and I've been appointed as the spokesperson for our little region in Chiddingfold.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Lawton. I'm the councillor for Farnham Webburn. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Councillor Jerry Hyman of Farnham Firgrove Ward, and I'm also a council tenant, the only councillor who is a tenant. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Monopon Blofeld and I'm a tenant.
Good morning. My name's Lois. I've been a tenant for 11 years.
Good morning, I'm Roger. I've now been a Waverley tenant in Hazelmere now for 50 years this year.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Louisa Blundell. I'm the Housing Development Manager at Waverley.
Morning, my name's Katie Riley and I'm the Energy Efficiency Project Lead at Waverley.
Morning, I'm Annalisa Rhodes and I'm a Housing Operations Officer at Waverley.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm Hugh Bagstaff, the Head of Housing here at Waverley.
Morning, Matt Alexander, Housing Operations Manager.
Morning, I'm Ellington, Energy Efficiency Officer.
Thank you all very much for doing that. Okay, so we kick off our meeting just 20 minutes late, so I'll try and rush us through. Otherwise, we won't get home in time for supper. So, agenda item number 1 is Kissy to advise us of any apologies received prior to the meeting.
Hi, I've had apologies from Julian Hickson and Sally Purcell.
Thank you, and I'd add John Rabini in that. Thank you, Jackie, for that. Item 2 on the agenda, these are declarations. Kizzy, have you been advised that any declarations have been received before the meeting?
No declarations made, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And item 3, this part is to agree the notes of the previous meeting. A few amendments were made to the notes and they have been published and circulated to members. So members, are you happy to confirm and agree these notes of the last meeting? That sounds good. Thank you very much. And item 4 on our agenda is to see if we have received any questions from members of the public. Kissy, have there been any before the meeting?
No questions formally received before the meeting, Chair.
And 5 questions from members. Any questions received before the meeting?
No questions received by members prior to the meeting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're only 10 minutes late now, so we're doing well. So item 6 on our agenda, Hugh Wagstaff, who's our Services Improvement Manager, is going to... Are you our Service Improvement Manager? You're not, are you? Sorry, I've been demoting you all morning. Sorry about that, Hugh. Well, Hugh is going to read out the Head of Service report to us. Hugh, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I won't read it out. I'll just give you a quick summary. For tenants and others that may not know, we're actually being inspected by the regulator of social housing. It's a bit like Ofsted in terms of education. In fact, it's sort of a quick way of seeing what we're going through, and we've been feeding back to previous meetings on how the inspection is going. So briefly to say that the inspector observed the tenants panel meeting and then met members of the tenant panel meeting afterwards on the 17th of October. So I'd like to thank the tenants panel for allowing that to happen, and also the inspector gave their thanks for allowing you to observe your meeting. The regulator will be also observing this meeting, and the overview and scrutiny meeting that's going to be held on the 5th of November. The regulator made a request for a second lot of documentation, which we had to submit by the 25th of October. We submitted all the documents bar one, which was a spreadsheet of data related to the condition of our stock and compliance. I informed the portfolio holders and the Vice Chair of this meeting about that delay, but that was yesterday and we submitted the data in line with our extension. As I mentioned, there was a tenants panel meeting held on the 17th of October, and the tenants panel invited Ian Williams, our responsive repairs contractor, to explain their plans for improving their service. So I'd like to thank the panel for their support in attempting to improve that repair service. Terry, would you like to any comments about that meeting?
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. We met with Darren Barnard from Ian Williams, the contractor. It was by invitation from the tenant panel, and it was really to raise the points about the satisfaction level that has consistently been low for the last 2 years, according to responses from tenants. Darren was fairly open. He accepted that there was a difficulty in the level. There was many reasons as to why they've not been able to improve. He also mentioned that a number of things was that the high level of no access on calls, saying that the tenants weren't there. We did mention that that's probably a lot to do with the communication system that we have, where tenants are not reminded. Also went on to say that the poor communications, and that they are looking at their technology to change and to give tenants better notice. What he did say at the end was they intend to be back on track by the end of the year. So 2 months' time. It was very open, and we hope that we'll be able to meet with them again soon and see what the results are of their promises. And just to go back to the regulator visit, I think the members found that to be an enjoyable meeting, actually. Very open, two-way conversation in private, and it gave us the opportunity to say how we felt about Waverley and the housing services and how they engage with tenants. And I suppose the proof will be in the eating when the report comes out. You'll see how much or how we did or didn't support you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh. Thank you very much, Terry. Just my last item on my report was a decision made around the allocations policy. I mean, it is one of the most important policies that we have, and I think it was just important to make the board aware that we've just changed the increased the income threshold for the allocation scheme from 60,000 to 70,000 income. If anyone's got any questions on that, but I think it just was important to highlight to the board. That's the end of my report. Any questions?
Thanks you, and Terry, thanks for your update. No, someone had a hand up, Jackie.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm pleased that Williams have recognised that they're not very good at informing tenants at times when they're arriving, because certainly I know 3 tenants have taken time off work and nobody's turned up, and then they've turned up the next day, and of course there's nobody there, and they've been told, oh well, if you don't make sure you're in, we won't be coming again. Well, very poor, but I'm glad that they're recognising that they need to do better on that so that people don't lose time at work. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Jackie. Any other comments? In that case, if I can ask members to confirm that they're pleased to note Hugh's report. Nod your head. Agreed to do. Thank you very much. And now moving on to where are we? Agenda item number 7. We have a responsive repairs contract client action plan report from Hugh again. Hugh, thank
That's
you.
correct. So thank you. So it's really carrying on the theme of the repairs service, which we understand is so critical to our tenants. Just a quick bit of background. Councillor Rivers set up an executive working group to investigate the concerns that were being highlighted to him about the housing maintenance service. On this group was Terry and was Councillor Crowe, in terms of and they produced a report. They had 5 main issues they highlighted, and that's on 6.2 of my report. That quickly go through the issues was contract management, IT systems, customer service, overdue roofing jobs, and subcontractors. I the subcontractors used by Ian Williams. So I produced an action plan to address those issues. This is the annex of the report, and I think this is an action plan for us as officers, as the client, and it really answers the questions when people ask, Hugh, what is your team doing about Ian Williams? And this is the actions that we're doing around that. So really the ones I wanted to highlight it's number 9. And this is about ensuring we effectively manage this Ian Williams contract. We are contract managers, and that we actually hold Ian Williams to account, and that we record this. So this action is ensure all contract operational meetings and breaches of contract are recorded and minutes are accessible. So we need to, this is so critical for us moving forward. All the kind of questions we had at the last meeting, you know, what action can we take against Ian Williams? Well, if we don't do this key thing, we won't be able to take any action against them. And so that is critical. The other, I think, really important ones within the action plan is to really embed this within the team, an effective contract management culture across the service. And again, that means that we really holding the contractor to account, highlighting the issues and recording those. And to ensure that people are made, individuals within who are managing this with the repair service are accountable. We also need to embed a performance culture within the housing service, that people are made accountable for the actions to improve this service in this area. So those are the things that I just wanted to highlight. This is about holding us as officers account for this delivery of this service, because ultimately we're responsible. And we've got to, but it's great, we get support from the tenants panel and members on improving the service, but it's us as officers that need to be accountable for this. So we have a list of actions. I'm not really proposing pretty soon people have read it and they can ask questions, but this is something that I think we need to bring back to this meeting on a monthly basis to give you up to date on how we're progressing. We're linking things with this, linking the performance of Ian Williams to see if it's making any difference as well. I do talk about key performance indicators, and I think if we can put those on the screen, they're critical. They're within the contract. So this is how we're measuring the contractor, and I think, Chair, you wanted to see them. So this is around tenant satisfaction is the top one, but then it's around but the other important thing is the average number of days to complete a repair. So those are the kind of things that we are measuring to actually see whether the service is being delivered that to the standard that's required. So I think I'll finish there. If we've got any questions about, as I say, this action plan and my report, as I say, the emphasis is about us as the client in improving this service.
Thanks, Hugh. Before I take any questions, I'm going to jump in myself, Hugh, if you don't mind. As this report progresses and we get copies of it every month coming to this committee. I'd like us to start thinking in terms of a RAG status on here, a red, amber, green, or green. Really, I like green. Yeah, it's my favorite color. Yeah, I quite like red as well, but not in these. If we can think about that, maybe next month is too early for that because these are moving. But if you keep that in mind, and I would like you, if you could, on item in your table 2.2. Wait a minute. Or at least in terms of the IT systems, which is section 2 in the report. Can you expand on these issues? Why are we having difficulty communicating with at the technical level with Ian Williams?
So got two computer systems, ours and Ian Williams, and you would expect them to be constantly talking to each other about individual repair jobs. I'm afraid that the link between the two, the conversation between the two systems is very limited. Basically, we raise a job, it goes over to Ian Williams, and we don't actually hear about it in what's happened to that job until it's actually they're looking to be paid, which you can imagine it can be some time but after we actually ordered that job. It came about because our own provider, IT system provider, could not produce that what they call the interface, this conversation, and we've really struggled with that. We've now come up with a solution with Ian Williams, and to give them the due, they have been proactive in that. So by December, we should have a system where there is a lot more communication, and we can actually understand what's happening to those individual jobs or the jobs as a total. And that's the issue. And then really, a really long-term solution is to have a new IT housing management IT system that can have that proper interface. So it's that limited conversation, and I think you found that in your report that you talk to the call handlers, the people that took the repairs, and they had such limited information what was happening to the job, so they couldn't respond to your queries. To respond to their queries, they needed to then contact Ian Williams to find out what was happening in the job. They couldn't look on their screens to actually find what was happening, and that's probably the kind of the frustration you have if you're looking to know what's happened to your repair. People said, "Oh, I need to ring this person," or "You need to ring that person," and so that's that communication. So it's in terms of customer service, it's been poor. And it's and also contract management, because the team don't actually know what are happening to individual jobs unless they do log into Ian Williams' system. And that's what we have been able to negotiate at the moment. And it's not the greatest mitigation, but it is a mitigation. The teams have access into their systems and can log on individual jobs, and we can download reports, performance reports as well. But it's not ideal. And as I say, but we should have this improvement in the interface as an interim measure, by December. And as I say, in the long-term plan is to have a permanent solution to this area. Thank you.
Thanks, Hugh. That sounds like a nice Christmas present for us all, then, as long as it's this Christmas, of course. Let me take Jackie as a member, and then I'll come back to you, sir. I'm afraid I've forgotten your name, but right, okay. Jackie?
Thank you. Yes, one of the things that I would like to see improvement on is the liaison between Williams and their contractors, because I think this is maybe where it falls down a bit with you know, the visits to do a job, and maybe the contractor haven't been told by Williams that that person's in or out. So I think that the coordination there is a bit lopsided, and it needs to be firmed up with Williams and their contractors. Thank you.
Yes, I mean the working group found that as well, and we are pushing Ian Williams to improve. Again, I think it's partly an IT issue with their communication with their subcontractors and actually knowing what's going on. So that's been identified, and that is a priority area.
Thanks. Roger, is it?
Yes, thank you. I'll try and be as quick as I can to raise 2 points. It hasn't been actually mentioned, but I personally, as a long-term tenant, as I've said now, I've had more of an issue, perhaps on the safety side of it, with the central heating contractors, Smith and Byford. The last time they came round for the annual service, they were inside my house for less than 7 minutes. I'd already emptied the airing cupboard out because the boiler was in the back of the airing cupboard. So then they looked at the boiler whilst I was downstairs. They did not go into the airing cupboard to look at the gas meter and do the normal checks for leaks or look at the gas cooker and straight out the door. That kind of worries me because we never had this service at all with Central Heating Services, the previous one. The service was much, much better. I want to come back because that's actually why I'm here today, about the communication. And we've talked about the communication today. My actual issue is with Waverley. I reported that where I live in George Denyer, the fence backs onto the Chestnut Avenue car park. It came down in January in the storms. It was, to my knowledge, having lived there a long, long time, been there up for 30 odd years, Ian Williams came out straight away after I reported it to Waverley, said that the job was too big for them. It needed to be a proper fence contractor because the whole lot was completely rotten. I had no more communication after that. I contacted Waverley probably once a month to get an update as to what was going on, and all I was told was it had been passed on, it was in the hands of the surveyor, and somebody would phone me back. That was once a month until September. I never got any response from Waverley whatsoever until I got a text message to say we're coming tomorrow to put the fence up in September.
Roger, thanks for that. I mean, may we pick up that with you a little bit further after the meeting? We are a little behind anyway, we might get diverted. I'm sorry you had that problem. I mean, it's not the first one I've heard of. Not that I hear of many. As a councillor, very few. I mean, I've been a councillor here I'm in my 6th year, and the number of direct contacts that I've had from people in the area that I support, perhaps 5 or 6 over that period of time. So, I mean, one of the messages I have is that if you have an issue with Waverley in a report, you have a local councillor who will support you in that, will rattle the cage. So that's a message to everybody here. Don't stop complaining. Bring your local councillor in. That's what we don't get paid for. Okay. Thanks for that. Members, are you happy to accept? Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew, beg your pardon.
Thank you, Chair. Really, this just follows on from some of the comments I just heard, also from Councillor Keane. It strikes me as that there's always this potential issue where either the contractor doesn't turn up on time or the tenant isn't in at the time when they said, and it then becomes, it's my fault, not your fault. Who is actually coordinating, controlling and owning that relationship? Because I think that seems to be often where it falls down between the two stools. That's one question. The other question is, going back to your introduction, you discussed a lot about a joint contracts tribunals measured terms contract, which was originally set up in April 2022. But you said that if there is no situation where, as a result of non-performance, that you can deduct any payment to Ian Williams. Are you able to now overcome that? Because contractually, I think what you're suggesting is that you just have to hope that Ian Williams is going to agree what you asked him to do. I'm a bit concerned that the contract still seems to be a bit open on that.
To 2 points. So I do apologise to Roger for that experience that he has and that communication and that ownership. the model currently, going back to the councillor's question, is that we then take the repair, and when that's been ordered, it's then owned by the contractor. The model that we accepted is that they've got a hub that's not within this building, it's within Birmingham, and they should be owning that job and making the communication. So I think so what we have, the complication is us, there's the local team, and then we have this hub and that communication. And I think you're identifying what the issues are. But the overall responsibility for that job, what I'm trying to emphasize, is us as the client. So we're not losing responsibility, but and the ownership, but really the process is the hub should be communicating with the tenants and making sure jobs are completed appropriately and on time, and ensuring that effective communication. We've raised many times that we don't feel that hub is that effective at communicating, and we've raised that many times, and we need to keep doing that. And as I sort of mentioned, we've had a meeting in October where the manager of that hub came to see us, and we expressed our concerns to him there. So hopefully that answers the questions about the ownership.
And so just to clarify, from the tenant's point of view, if they have ongoing difficulties in getting a contractor, Waverley should be the first point of contact rather than having to go back through to the contractor or anybody else. Is that correct?
So initially, they should speak to the contractor and sort out those arrangements. If they're not getting any satisfaction with the contractor, or the contractor's not communicating with them, they then should come back to us. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks you for that, Terry.
It's just a quick question. A lot of this information, I believe, comes from the performance information comes from Ian Williams. How do we regulate that? How do we assure that that's factual?
So, I mean, I'm sorry, and probably that's the thing I should have highlighted. So the KPI information does come from the Ian Williams system, because as I say, our data will be so out of date because we get told so long. So that is a weakness and a risk that we need to mitigate. But how we mitigate that is by interrogating their system. So we are able to go in our system ourselves and actually cross-reference the information that they're giving us. So that's their individual job. So we can collate those reports. And Matt does a lot of work in terms of is the information they're giving us correct, and reconciling that and going through their system to check that. We're also, what we do to actually mitigate is do our own post inspections. So to ensure where they say jobs are completed, we are checking that jobs are complete and to the quality. So that on the ground we doing. So that's how we're checking the robustness of the data they're providing us. Basically, we're interrogating their system, but we're also going out and actually measuring the quality of their work. I just probably need to go back to the councillor's question about the contract. So I think the contract doesn't, if it's due to performance, doesn't allow us to do financial penalties. It would be towards that termination. That's the only option. I think we're having some initial discussions. Could we change this contract? I mean, that would be in the agreement with the contractor. And we haven't had that conversation, but Councillor Rivers has sort of asked me to investigate that. I think that may not solve all our problems, but it may be another, as you say, stick to help us improve the service. But we then could be fighting over, the amounts of money rather than focusing on the quality of the service. I think that's the important thing that we need to really keep, as I say, the method I talked about in the action plan, that we're constantly holding them to account. And if we need to take further action, the legal action, we have all that evidence. That's the key thing we need to do at the moment. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Thanks, Jerry. If we can be quick, because we're about 20 minutes behind, and I'd hate to miss
Yes,
the last thing.
So-
Jerry,
so-
over to you.
Sorry, Chairman, and I was here just as an observer, but there's something that just quite important, I think, that's just been raised there. I'd like to ask, what percentage of jobs are we currently checking afterwards for quality, and how are we doing it? Are we phoning people up? Obviously, it's very time-consuming if we're going around everywhere. If it's difficult enough for people to get into a tenant's property in the first place to do a repair, it's equally difficult for Waverley to get in to check it on a separate occasion. So there's a lot of extra work involved in that. Are we phoning people up and saying, would you like us to pop round to check that you know, the quality of the work that's being done, and what percentage are we actually checking of all the jobs that are being done? Thanks.
So our target is 10%, and we would make an appointment, so we wouldn't be cold calling. And we've got quite a good process on that. And the outcomes of those are not good in terms of the quality and the rates that they've charged us, the fee of that repair. So we have that process in place. What we're having a challenge is getting Ian Williams also, because that's a contract requirement, to actually post-inspect their work as well to ensure the quality side. And as you say, they find that quite a burden. And then this is one of the things we're really pushing them on, that they need to also post-inspect their own work for the quality. And to other things, to feel that their operatives are getting supported, but also feedback to the operatives where they're not doing a good job. So yes, to give you reassurance, we've got an officer, and then some other officers do some other inspections, post inspections. We are post inspecting at least 10% of the work.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Hugh. Members, are you minded to note Hugh's report? Sorry, Hugh, you're going to make a change.
I think just the other thing, just to about the council, we do also do a transactional satisfaction survey where we telephone. I think that's around 10% of jobs, and that's by an independent company. That's jointly funded by Ian Williams. And again, in my action plan, I said we've got to make more use of that data. So there is regular meetings, and the tenants panel attend those meetings where we look at the feedback from those telephone calls. So if you do get if any tenant does get a call from our independent person, please, it'd be great if you can incorporate your feedback on those repairs. So that, I think what we've identified, the executive working group identified that we need to use that data more and to drive up improve the service. Thank you. Sorry, Chair.
No, thanks, Hugh. Jerry, and thank you for your question. That was a good one. Jackie, you told me that you wanted to get away.
I know I did, but I just want to thank you for a really good report. And also, I'm really pleased to see that, you know, you're really getting to grips with Williams and making sure that they do what they're supposed to do. And I'm really pleased to see that, Hugh. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
And
Councillor.
thank you, Jackie, for that. My apologies for being a little saucy. Thank you very much. No, it is one of the key things. So members, are you minded to note Hugh's report? Good, thank you. And on to agenda item number 8, the 3-year update of the Housing Asset Management Strategy 2022 to 2030. And we have Katie, and I have written down here, Katie is right. Katie Riley, who is our Energy Efficiency Project Lead. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And you will present this to us. Would it be really cheeky of me if you just went through it a little faster than you normally would?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I will, and I'm going to make it fun and interesting with a PowerPoint. So hopefully it will be more engaging than just going through the report, but I will keep it brief. So we're bringing forward a 3-year update on a strategy that we published in 2022, and it covers the commitments that the housing service have made to improving and maintaining the quality of the service we deliver and the homes that we provide up to 2030, which, as we all know, is coming upon us quicker and quicker. So the report is quite data heavy. So I'm not going to go through it in detail now, but just to let you know that it covers an update on the strategy, the Housing Asset Management Strategy. It provides an update on the condition and decency of Waverley's council-owned homes. It provides an update on how understanding the asset data that we hold on our systems informs the budgets that we set each year, and to provide an update on the condition of our council-owned homes, specifically around energy efficiency, which is my specialist area as well. So over to the slideshow now. So just to start with, just to sort of talk you through how we maintain the decency of our homes in line with the Decent Home Standard. Go to the next slide. So as you would have seen in the report, hopefully, last year we completed a stock condition survey on 82% of our housing stock. All of this information is then stored in our asset management system, and we use the data to design planned works programmes over the course of the year and broader, with a much higher confidence in an up-to-date data set, which looks to save us time and money in the long run. On to the next slide. And the next slide. So to improve the decency of our homes in line with the government set Decent Home Standard, the Property Services team have a 5-year rolling set of plans for major capital works programmes, which includes things like the boiler replacements, kitchen and bathroom replacements, and the programmes are informed by the stock condition data that we gather. On the next slide. The asset management team then analyse the data on each capital asset, like a kitchen or a bathroom, to see when it was installed and then subsequently when it's due for replacement. And different assets within the home have different expected lifespans, which are advised by the Decent Home Standard. So, for example, we might expect a gas boiler to remain in good condition for about 15 years and a bathroom up to 30 years. That's not to say that it will, but that's what we would expect to see, and we would need to make sure that we carry out routine maintenance to extend its lifespan. So the next couple of slides present data on planned kitchens, just as an example. So on this slide, we see the raw data on planned kitchens up to 2030, and we base this data set on gathering the data that we know the lifespan of from 2005 all the way through to 2030. And then on the next slide, we undertake a smoothing of the data process to create a more regular number of jobs per year for the contractor to carry out. We analyse past trends on installation costs, number of installations that are possible over a period of a year, for example. And we can do that by looking back at the average costs and industry costs for items like kitchens. And then this lets us set an informed budget rather than an estimated budget. On the next slide, we know some works programmes can be intrusive. We do understand that. So things like kitchens and bathrooms, we try to minimise disruption where possible by grouping the disruptive works together to minimise the disruption for our residents, really. And then on the last slide, we're a semi-rural borough, and it takes a bit of time to get from one side to the other. So we do try to gather our work together geographically to try and minimise some of the unnecessary travel for contractors, again, trying to save money and time over the course of the programme. Next slide. We'll move on to energy efficiency now. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's fine. Last slide. If you could go back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's go from here. Okay, so this is where we try and make data a bit more interesting and digestible. So a key benchmark for measuring the quality of our homes in terms of energy efficiency is having an energy performance certificate. Sometimes we call it EPC. Of at least a band C. And whilst this is an important metric, because it's a common benchmark for funding streams, and we need to be an EPCC to be compliant by 2030, there are also lots of other factors we need to consider when we're improving the energy efficiency of our homes. But I am going to focus on EPCs today. So on the screen now, you can see some charts presenting statistics about EPCs across Waverley's homes. So from the data we have available to us, we know that 68% of our homes are already an EPC B or A, and that 29% are below an EPC C, so they're a D and below. And that's about 1,405 properties that we need to bring up to a band C by 2030 in order to be compliant with government targets. We are undergoing a data validation process at the moment, which explains that, which explains why some of the statistics you're seeing on the screen are different to what we published a couple of years ago in the Housing Asset Management Strategy. So this means our data is more reliable today. On the next slide. EPCs are actually assessed using a methodology called the Standard Assessment Procedure, or SAP. So what we're actually seeing is EPC letter ratings, ABC, but behind that is a score. So for example, an EPCC actually has a SAP score of 69 to 80 points. What we're looking at is ways to improve the number of points by installing retrofit measures like installation and PV, because each retrofit measure is worth a different number of points. And so if we're looking to bring up to an EPCC, we need to think about the combination of measures we're installing. We've identified that the majority of properties below an EPCC, so that's the 1,405, 900 or so of them are actually within only 5 points of an EPC band C. So that means we can actually look to kind of lower cost, quite high impact measures to bring them up and be compliant, make homes warmer and more affordable to run. So next slide. Not too much more to go, I promise. So this year, the Housing Service appointed myself and my colleague Elaine as an Energy Efficiency Officer. And so both are new roles to Waverley, and they're driving our commitments set out in the Housing Asset Management Strategy on decarbonisation and improving the energy efficiency of our homes. So on the screen is just a flavour of the programmes that we've brought online since January. And in the little houses, you can see the number of homes that we either have improved or looking to improve. On the next slide, as Hugh has mentioned, we're moving across to a new asset management system. We're looking to take a much more data-led approach to making sure that we're managing things properly. So I just wanted to show you a snapshot of one of the tools that we use, because we'll probably start using it to report back to this meeting a little bit more. Makes data much more interesting because it visualizes information. Who'd have thought it? Yeah. It just makes it a bit more digestible. And so I think this program specifically, it pulls in data on the condition of our homes and presents it in a way that lets you understand, oh, right, okay, so that's a number of homes with cavity wall, that's a number with EPCC, that kind of thing. So we'll bring this back as the asset management system data is pulled through in the project process. So I think I just wanted to, on the last slide, just leave us with a thought for today. What does Waverley's roadmap to net zero look like for our council homes? So we know we've declared a climate emergency as a council in 2019, and we've got a carbon neutrality action plan to provide a step-by-step process for getting there by 2030. What you can see on the screen is an illustrative roadmap for how the housing service might with our residents, make our homes net zero by 2050. That's the national government's target, that the UK will be net zero by 2050. So the milestones that we might want to think about need to be made up of these national, local targets, industry targets, and we need them to be realistic and achievable. Some of the targets are not that far away, like EPC by 2030. And there actually isn't an industry or government set standard for what net zero means. So it presents an opportunity for this board together with residents to think about what net zero for our council owned homes might look like and how we might get there. Thank you.
Katie, thank you very much. Now, if you'll forgive me, members, given the time, I'm not going to take any questions on this, although I would ask Katie if you could circulate that PowerPoint presentation as a printout to members. Now, although I'm not taking questions, I think one of the interesting things that I think we ought to get a feel for, and maybe you can do this for a later thing, is I'm not sure I saw it very clearly on your slide, but is there a time that you can say when Waverley will reach EPCC for all properties? Is it, you don't have to answer this now because I'm conscious of time. How will we do it? And what are we doing in the meantime to improve our houses to the decent homes standard? If you could think about that sort of thing and include some responses in the circulation of the PowerPoint slides, I think that would be good. We can, members, we can then pick up on that next week. And tenants, if you have questions on it, there is a thing right at the start for public questions. So we have mechanisms for doing that. Now, if I let you all in, you'll be answering. Okay, go ahead.
I'll be very quick.
Yeah.
Just one of the things that Jackie and I were looking at in the actual written report before today was that a lot of tenants are refusing access. So I'd be very keen if you could expand on that, whether in this meeting or maybe subsequently. That'd be really interesting. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Terry?
Yes, can I propose that that we actually hold a workshop to look through this and to dig deeper into it, understand it. I know that obviously normally December we don't have a landlord services board meeting, so maybe we could take a few hours to do that. Thank you.
So, Katie, thank you very, very much for that. Our approach is fabric first. Insulation has the wonderful advantage of reducing the cost of heating. And I think that has a much more immediate impact on tenants than carbon storage in 20 years' time. So that's where we're going. Let's hope we get there in time. And now, moving on, housing performance dashboard presentation, Hugh. And again, we are a little short of time. Oh, actually, before I do that, members, I'm sorry. Can we just record the fact that you are you indeed happy to note Katie's report? Thank you.
Okay, to start. Yeah. So the first slide is this. So for members that and residents who have not attended this meeting before, this is a report that we've been developing probably over the last 6 or 7 months at these meetings to demonstrate the performance of the housing service across a number of areas, including responsive repairs. And for the board to enable to understand and tenants to understand how we're performing and really challenge us, scrutinise what we're doing to actually improve where we're failing or having challenges. So the first one is voids. Voids are what we call when a tenant leaves their home and then we need to reservice it and someone else moves in. So that's the term void property, i.e. it's empty. We have a target of 25 days from key to key, from when a tenant leaves to when we actually re-let the property. We're having a tremendous difficulty meeting that target. We won't discuss it perhaps in length today because of shortage of time, because this is coming back as the bigger agenda item in January when we're coming out a fundamental review, what is going wrong and ways that we're going to make improvements. So all I can do at this stage for this, apologise for this lack of poor service in terms of turnaround times, but we will have a more in-depth discussion at our January meeting. Go to the next area. So complaints. So again, this is really a success story, although it's only for 1 month. As members and tenants will know, we have not been meeting our target in terms of responding in time to complaints. There's a set time of 10 days to respond to a complaint. And last year, we were around 55% of our complaints were answered within that time period. We've talked about at previous meetings the things that we've carried out to improve things, and we have recruited a service improvement officer who will focus on complaints, improving our performance around this area. She's been in post now for probably 6 weeks, and you can see the impact that she's made. So all the complaints that we've closed in October were responded to within the time limit. And if we go on to the next slide, the level 2 complaints were also all responded to within the time limit. Responsive repairs is the next area, and here we can see the backlog of jobs. So basically, there's Ian Williams have got just over 300 jobs that are over 28 days. We know the tenants feel this, where their greatest dissatisfaction is the amount of time for these repairs to be completed. And again, we've talked about the action plan to improve that performance. The average time, as we saw from the KPIs, average time should be around 15 days. That means some repairs should be done quite quickly, and others will be done slightly longer. That is what we need to. That's what you, as a board, will be measuring us against. That we get this backlog down, and we reduce the average time to actually complete the repairs. The next slide is just around legal disrepair. This is where tenants have gone to basically a solicitor because of this repair, and are threatening legal action if we don't carry out the repairs. So you can see the number of cases that we received at the beginning of the financial year. We haven't had any in the last couple of months, and we've settled 5 of those cases. Again, we probably need to give you more information around that, but that gives you, I think, the board initially asked for some kind of figures around the number of legal disrepair cases that we were getting, and that gives the board a feel. So compliance, this is really the most important report back on information, and I think we need to highlight and apologise for around our what we call water hygiene, water risk assessments completed per dwelling. We are down on those, and also we've got a number of actions outstanding from those risk assessments. That doesn't affect every property. It just affects really 650 of our homes, and this is sort of identifying that we need to do a lot of work in that area. And the risk is Legionella disease, Legionella bacteria, and as I say, in some areas where there is a risk and we haven't been able to complete the works, we do mitigation and warn residents of the risk. So generally, I think the one to highlight is gas there. So you could say that's a good performance, that we've only had 2 outstanding gas inspections, but we recognise we need to be 100% all the time, and that's really important. So usually 99.95% on performance would be great, but that is not great. It's got to be 100%. We are dipping in and out of 100%, because as you can imagine, it changes as we get into places. Then some other people, then their year anniversary comes to an end. But we recognise that's a challenging area that we need to be on. We are on top of it, but we've still not got that constant 100%. The other area I like to highlight is electric checks. So we should be checking your homes every 5 years. We've identified that there's 314 properties that we haven't got electric certificates for. So we've got a programme. So by December, all those homes will have been contacted to undertake an electrical check. So those are the areas I just wanted to highlight in that slide. I think it's, Chair, if you didn't mind, because it's such an important slide, we'll just pause if there has anyone really got any great concerns or questions on that slide.
Thanks, Hugh. Yeah. Any comments on this, recognising the time? I don't want to be a bully, by the way, but
okay.
But
thanks,
Hugh. Carry on.
We'll move on to the next slide. So this is just, and it goes back to Roger's point. And we have, oh no, so these are, sorry, this is remedial action. So as I was saying, this is again the importance of water. So we carry out these risk assessments, and from those assessments there'll be a number of actions to be undertaken. And as you can see, for water safety, we've got many actions outstanding that we need to undertake. And we're still developing the programme to actually confirm when they can all be completed. The next slide. Compliance, so this is just to confirm the number of open damp and mould cases. So we have 41 cases currently, and we haven't got any other issues around the health and safety rating or the housing ombudsman at the moment. Next slide. This really, Katie's already covered this, the stock condition, so we can go to the next slide. And this just is really antisocial behaviour. This is reports of antisocial behaviour reported to the housing management team, and this gives you a feel of how many open cases the housing management team have got. And for some reason in September we didn't have any reports of antisocial behaviour, so that's why the numbers dropped in at the end of September. I think that's the end of the dashboard.
Thanks, Hugh. Thanks very much. Again, I'm not minded to take any questions, but may I ask for this to be sent round as a circular to members? I know we'll look at it again at the end of next month, but that would focus our minds again on any specific questions. Complaints handling, clearly a matter for praise now, so well done, complaints. And I echo the fact that complaints need to be mentioned to your local councillor as well. Otherwise, what else do we do? Well, don't get me started on what else we do, but you know. I would note also the volume of repairs. We're talking 1,000 repairs a month. That's quite a lot. And that was one of the numbers that did surprise me when I took on this half of the portfolio. Thank you, Hugh. Members, are we minded to note Hugh's report? That's very kind. Thank you very much. Right, and now our star performer. Louisa, you're going to tell us about tenant engagement on housing development and your report. And I think this says an awful lot of good things. I know these areas very well. And Louisa, you've done a great job on this. So tell us about it quickly, if you can.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not intending to go through the whole ins and outs of the report. I'm hoping that members will have read it, but it just sets out how the development team and colleagues within other teams in Waverley and contractors have worked with our tenants and community through consultation, community engagement and onward conversations as we've worked through our regeneration programmes, both on site and there are references to schemes on site and also those about to be submitted to planning. Just to highlight the particular schemes mentioned in the report, there's the Oxford Ridge New Build and Retrofit Regeneration Scheme, 5 sites in Chiddingfold that are live on site, and then Springfield in Elstead and Site F at Oxford Ridge that are about to be submitted to planning. I just wanted to highlight a few areas in the report which are sort of more recent introductions. The use of Commonplace, which is a community engagement platform that enables and supports our already existing face-to-face consultation that we do with our residents and community, and it enables tenants and the community to engage with us in the development team about our scheme and proposals, both prior to planning and then through the delivery programme to completion. Also that we've introduced a smart thermostat, which is provided by Switchy, and it enables us to provide insights and tools to support our tenants and also provide data about the operation of our properties so that we can ensure that what we said we would deliver at the outset of the project is currently come to fruition once it's been built out. And it applies also to the retrofit homes that we've just completed at Oxford Ridge, and it supports the work that Katie and team are doing as well. We can provide insights and feedback to tenants about how, where we've introduced, for example, air source heat pumps and photovoltaic cells, how they can best use the equipment and most efficiently to ensure that they reduce their fuel bills and also the impact on the environment with carbon. Another final sort of area is the video walkthrough that we've completed of our refurbishment homes, which just enables and provides another media for our tenants to view and understand how their home operates, and the equipment, elements of the equipment as a sort of introduction to what they are and how they operate in the home. And that just supports the paper copy home user guide and digital copy of home user guide that we've always provided. And just finally, a shameless plug for our community benefit programme and the Keeping Memories Alive video that's been produced with, it sort of captures the journey that some of the tenants at Oxford Ridge have been through our regeneration at Oxford Ridge, right from the inception of the project through to moving into a new home. And it demonstrates the engagement that we've had with them, the journey they've been on, and where they are now. And I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Louisa. And the reason I called you a star is because you star in that video, as indeed do you, Robert. And I strongly recommend, you'll be able to find this if you search around on Waverley's YouTube areas, looking for Memories Alive. This has been going on now since at least the mid-90s, I think. There was an early memory of people who lived in Oxford Ridge, putting it down on newfangled CDs at the time. I think that's right. But if there's any other questions for Louisa? Otherwise, Louisa can give us a bigger puff on keeping memories alive, if I remember.
Just basically, it's on the Waverley YouTube channel, and I believe that I've put a digital link in the copy of the paper as well. So if people want to view that together with the video walkthrough of the refurbishment homes.
Thanks very much, Louisa. Members, are you minded to accept Louisa's report? Thank you very much for that. And now, it's hard work, Hugh, this morning, isn't it? Oh, beg your pardon.
Delegated to Annalisa.
Oh, okay. And Annalisa, if you, this is our the LSAB forward plan presentation. This is what we have to do.
Okay, so hopefully those of you who've not attended the board meeting today have got an indication of the type of things that we review at the Landlord Services Advisory Board. We created the Landlord Services Advisory Board to try and bring tenants closer to the decision making of the council. So the council and the executive make decisions on a whole range of council services. And the executive have delegated the majority of the housing decisions to the portfolio holders for housing. So although the board doesn't have a decision-making element to it, we've got a very strong advisory role, and the councillors take into account what this board say when we're reviewing policies, finances, procurement, service improvement actions. So we have a whole range of housing services in the landlord team, as you've heard today by looking at some of that compliance information. We provide responsive repairs, planned works, energy efficiency works, managing tenancies, managing properties, sustaining tenancies, supporting the community, a whole range of really exciting activities that you get involved in housing. We also, as we've mentioned, have got the regulator of social housing. They have 4 consumer standards that every landlord across the country, including local authorities, must demonstrate that they're meeting those standards. So this board should also receive reports from the Housing Service to get assurance that we are meeting those standards. So one of the examples of that today is the action plans, and an opportunity to scrutinise and challenge us and ask questions about the services we're delivering. So to enable us to present this information in a regular way, we do have a timetable for the forward work programme for the Landlord Services Advisory Board. So this will be sent out to all members and hopefully published on the website. So just to let you know what forthcoming attractions are coming to the board. So the main one you'll be getting shortly is around what we call our housing revenue account business plan. So every year the council set a budget on what we're going to spend council rents money on. So we will be having a workshop around that in December, and then those papers will formally come to the board. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put my glasses on so I can look at the other ones. We'll also continue to provide you with the monthly performance dashboard. And this was a request from this board because we have a corporate quarterly report, which is data every 3 months. But by the time that document was written and agreed internally, it took quite a long time to actually get to the board. So at their request, we've been developing the performance dashboard over the last 6 months. It has been evolving. There's always room for opportunity. And again, that will be something for the board to continue to look at. Thank you. So really what I wanted to just draw your attention to the fact that we have the forward plan. Those of you who have attended today, you might pick up something you would like to come back to and hear about in November or January, and then we will create the forward plan for the new year in the next couple of months.
Thanks, Annalisa. Well, personally, I'm pleased that we're approaching 11:30 on time, having had a bit of a late start. So thank you for putting up with me and racing through one or two of these things. I wanted to at least to give us all a flavour of all of the reports on here rather than cut it short. And Lisa, thank you for that schedule. It's amazing how we actually fit all of this in, actually. But one of the things that I thought might be of interest to the LSAB is a very brief summary of right to buy and receipts and one-for-one receipts and how we get money back from council houses that are being sold to build new ones. And looking at Louisa now, but maybe if we can schedule something in over the next 6 months, I think we might appreciate that. Other than that, thanks very much, Annalisa. Yeah. Tenants, we're going to ask you to remain, not because you've been naughty, but because Terry wants a word. Thank you all. I'm very happy now to close the meeting at 11:30. Thank you for your attention. All the people online, the hundreds and thousands online, thank you for your time, and see you in a month.